fundamental to being alive. And look, hey, if you can do that, if each of you can truly do that, can't nobody rip that apart. See y'all Monday?
Yes.
All right, a little homage to Ted Lasso. Thanks everybody for joining. Let's get started today. And if you can answer the prompt, answer the caption, Trump is not the problem. Why do most people blame Trump for everything? Is America missing the plot? That's not so much a question, that is a statement. Most of Americans on the left and the right are missing the plot. I don't know else how to say it, but we'll get into it as we're just getting this live started. But I'd like people to answer the questions in the chat. So if you're in the chat and you're on any of the platforms, why do most people blame Trump for everything that's wrong that's happening? And if you're new to my channel, it's probably not what you think we're going to be talking about, because America is missing the plot. It's unbelievable how many people, especially the people on the left or the progressives, that all they do is focus on blaming Trump. Like the guy is some sort of mastermind of something. He's not. That's what we'll say. We don't see the real reason. That's right, Blancarda Monica. We don't see the real problem because we're all being distracted by the waves that are crashing in. This is like a rip current. There you see the waves, but you don't see the rip current that's happening. So thanks everybody for joining this Sunday morning or at noon Eastern time. Thank you all for joining. Please remember to share, to subscribe, and to follow as we're getting the live stream started, because this is going to be an interesting live stream. We're going to have a panel here as well. Those of you that want to answer the question live on TikTok will be able to join. Those of you that are on Instagram, thanks for all the people on Instagram showing up. This is a big deal. I'm here every Sundays at 9 a.m. Pacific and noon Eastern. If you haven't been to my website, tkcivics.com, to read A Citizen's Plan, if you actually give a shit about your life, I am virtually certain that the only way we're ever going to fix America, like truly fix everything that's broken, there's just one or two things that needs to happen. Just voting in the Democrats is not going to be our salvation. That's not going to save our representative democracy and our democratic republic. Voting in Democrats is not going to do that. It will be a stay of execution, yes, and it's really important. And thanks for everybody for joining who want to request up. We'll have you in here soon, but I'm waiting for more people to join so we can have a good panel. And I'd like people in the chat, those of you in the chat that have actually answered this question already. Why does everyone blame Trump? It doesn't matter if you're Adam Mockler or Brian Tyler Cohen or David Pacman or any of the left-wing progressive YouTubers. All they do, and I don't know if this drives you crazy. Let me know. Does it drive you as crazy as much as that does me? Is when everyone focuses on blaming Trump for everything. Trump is an imbecile. He doesn't know hardly how to do anything. All the man knows how to do is how to stick his name on something, how to raise money from banks, how to steal money from banks and the U.S. taxpayer, and how to go bankrupt. That is the extent of his ability. That is the complete... one more thing I forgot. He is good of acting like a 4-year-old and labeling something like a 4-year-old would, using someone's appearance or someone's... and giving them nicknames. Maybe in derogatory nicknames, Trump has a skill in giving people derogatory nicknames. But that's the extent. He knows how to stick his name on something, how to raise money from banks or take loans out from banks, how to then grift or take that money from the loans and then go bankrupt. That is it, people. This is all the guy knows how to do. And he's doing the same thing to the United States. However, everything else that's happening, I don't care if you're talking about what the plans are for Greenland or what happened in Venezuela or what's happening in Iran or what's happening with ICE and immigration. Everything else is not his doing. Now, he allows it to happen, but it is not his sort of mastermind plan to do anything else. So let me know in the chat, anything else that happens that's outside of sticking his name on something and grifting from that and enriching himself, which is also not him, by the way. He doesn't actually know how to do that either. That is his accomplices, the people that surround him, people like Witkoff and Kushner and his associates. They are the ones that are doing that work for him because, again, he's an imbecile. He doesn't know anything. He has the intelligence of a parrot, if that. And that might be, obviously, taking away credit from parrots. So this is what's really important. I hope you join me here on Sundays at 9 a.m. Pacific and noon Eastern time, and that you follow and subscribe, because there's only one thing that's going to save the United States. And quite frankly, I hate using that expression. I won't use that expression. It's not going to be just one side or the other. This is about criminals, grifters, despicable scumbags of human beings at the top who are taking everyone for a ride, who are enriching themselves and taking control and inheriting the entire world and want every one of us, normal, decent human beings, to be dependent on them. It doesn't matter if you're talking about the tech bros of Peter Thiel, Musk, and all the others. They want to control us. You don't even have to answer the question, why do they want to control us? You might think if you're a decent human being, you can't even understand it. But that's what they're selling, that you can't understand that they want to control humanity, all of humanity. That's it. You don't even have to try and understand it, because most of us who don't understand it can't understand it, because we're not in that position of control and power. They want to control all Americans, whether that's through their data centers and their AI technology, which is really just language recommendation engines. But the data that they're collecting from flock cameras, from our vehicles, from everything else is meant to control us, to dictate and make us behave. Again, you don't even have to understand it. That is what's happening. Whether they have mentioned it often as well. Elon Musk this week just said himself that if the Democrats win the election, we're going to lose America. What they really mean, and this is what I'm good at doing, is explaining what people really mean, because people always tell you and show you who they are. Sometimes you just have to read between the lines. What they really mean is that they will lose America. They will lose control. Elon Musk, Ellison, Thiel, Zuckerberg, Bezos, they will lose America if the Democrats win this election in the midterms and in the 2028 election. Not that the United States, not that MAGA will lose America. If you're MAGA, you will not lose America if the Democrats win. The billionaires will start to lose some control. The foreign governments that are interfering in our government will lose control. Think tanks like the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society, they will have some of their control diminished. The e-file class and the political class that's associated with the Heritage Foundation and the billionaires, they will lose control. The rest of us will start maybe getting a little bit of representation. But again, they will not be the saviors of the United States democracy. There's only one thing that will do that, and that's all of us. This is a top versus bottom effort. This is about a popular movement. There's going to be no billionaire and unlikely any politician that's going to save regular Americans. They don't think ambitious enough. They don't think big enough. They are thinking about smaller issues, which are very important, but they don't think big enough. We need to get rid of the e-file class from the government. Every single one of us, I don't care if you're MAGA or liberal who are watching this, you know it. I know it. We all know it. We all need to get rid of the foreign influence from certain foreign governments, is Russia, others, out of the political system. You know it. I know it. We all know it. MAGA, liberals, everyone in between. We need to get rid of think tanks and lobbyists that are infiltrating our political system, most effectively Heritage Foundation and Project 2025. Again, you know it, I know it, we all know it. And yet we all think that there's nothing we can do. And it's a lie. It's a massive lie that is being sold to us by both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. These are two organizations. Now, they are not equal, and they are not the same wings of the same feather of the same wings. I forget the name of that expression. Someone in the comments, in the chat, let me know what that phrase is. But they are not the same. But I don't hear anyone on the Democratic side, now that we're moving towards democratic socialism on some parts, which, by the way, that is not the ultimate answer. I'm not saying it's bad. The ultimate answer, the proper answer, is social capitalism. Now, you may not know what that is, but you can figure it out. Social capitalism. It's not that difficult. Democratic socialism may not be bad initially, but it always leads towards something that's worse. And we all know that we're in this fight versus left versus right. And this is the fight that they want us to be in. And the people who perpetuate this are also, and this might be an unpopular opinion, is some of the left-wing progressive talking heads on YouTube and TikTok and others that always blame Trump. And it comes back to the caption here. Why do most people blame Trump for everything? That's all you see. Let me know in the chat. I'm looking at the comments now. Does that bother anyone else like it does me when I see everyone focusing all their attention on Trump, just like I'm kind of doing right now? Everyone blames Trump for everything when he is literally only allowing it to happen, but he is not the mastermind behind any of this. It's the influences in government. And you may think like all these influences, you can't stop it. Yes, you can. You absolutely can with the 28th Amendment. With 50 million people who would rise up and say, bullshit, we need a 28th Amendment that bans money in politics. The political corruption of money and influence in the government is the root cause of everything. It's not Trump. It's the Heritage Foundation. I know I sound like a broken record. It's the Heritage Foundation. It's foreign governments. And it's the tech billionaires that are allowed to influence the political system with wealth. This is supposed to be a government for the people, by the people, like we the people, the preamble of the Constitution. But we all know it's not. And yet, Trump is not actually a puppet of Thiel, just so you know, Gabrielle. Sort of. Peter Thiel, basically the mentor of Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Andreessen, and many others. But Trump is being manipulated by the Heritage Foundation, first and foremost. Secondary by certain foreign governments like is. And thirdly, with the tech billionaires, who are all essentially colluding to make all of us dependents on them, whether that's the Heritage Foundation, the foreign governments. Again, I'm not telling any of you something that you don't know. However, most people are just sitting there complaining and bitching about Trump being the problem, and he is not. He's just the waves that are crashing in on the ocean. You see the waves crashing in, you hear it every day, you see it every day, but underneath those waves is a rip current. And it's the rip current that you don't see, that most people don't see, is that's actually ripping apart the American democracy and our representative democracy, that no longer do our representatives represent the people. It's always been infiltrated by money to some extent and influence to some extent, but never like it is currently. Not even close to amount of influence. Government officials, Congress, the executive branch, the Supreme Court don't give a shit about the will of the people right now, unless we force them to give a shit about the will of the people. And the only way you can do that is if 50 million Americans or more, and by the way, there are far more than 50 million Americans that would agree with what I am telling you, and I think you all know it, that the vast majority of Americans understand that a popular movement is the only thing people in power and in control fear. So when you're talking about everything that's beautiful that happened in the 1900s, I'm not going to the 1700s and 1800s when the United States was an imperial nation and we had incredible amounts of flaws and warts. But in the 1900s, everything that was incredible that happened, from the labor rights movement to the women's suffrage movement to the civil rights movement to consumer protections to winning the Second World War, everything that happened in the 1900s was because of the United States population, people rising up and saying, this is what we want. The civil rights movement was a popular movement. The labor rights movement was a popular movement. The women's suffrage movement was a popular movement. If you want to change everything that's happening, that's the only thing will save it. I don't know why everyone's sitting back and hoping that someone is going to come out of the woodworks and restore order, restore self-rule and international world order. It won't happen unless the United States population and its society comes together. That's the whole purpose of a democratic republic, that the ultimate supreme leaders of a democratic republic is the population. And if the population is so divided over things that are designed to divide us, then we cannot act. And we're being distracted from what's really happening. And the insanity part of this is that the vast majority, or all sensible Americans, understand that the influence in the political system is the root cause and is the problem of everything. So I'm going to read a few comments. Why do most people blame Trump for everything? I'm broadcasting everywhere. Please remember, go to tkcivics.com, a citizen's plan. If you don't agree with this, let me know. But I almost promise you, no matter who you are watching this, if you go to tkcivics.com, become a supporter, doesn't cost you anything, and read a citizen's plan. And if you do, I think you'll come away, 99% of you, saying, holy shit, that is the solution. And many of you will say, I don't think it's possible. And I'm telling you, you've been manipulated into thinking it's not possible. It is absolutely possible. So whose plan? Go to tkcivics.com, a citizen's plan, where I have it all laid out. This is an online ad, Mark. It's not an online ad. You want to call it an online ad about trying to do what's best for society. That's an online ad. No, this is a dialogue for all Americans to take their head out of the sand and realize that Trump is just the vessel. He is just the vessel to create distraction. He can be manipulated into anything because he has no values, he has no morals, he has no belief system whatsoever. Donald Trump doesn't believe in anything other than making a deal to enrich himself. That's it. There's nothing else. He's an empty suit. He's an imbecile. Nothing else matters to this individual. And again, most people who are even MAGA kind of know this. He's not a savior. Oh my goodness. Some people call him a Caesarian figure, like a Caesar-like figure. That's just propping him up so that the people behind him, the Heritage Foundation, the foreign governments, and the tech billionaires, can manipulate him to doing whatever they want. Lost me at crazy. Trump is the effing president, spineless, worthless. Yes, that's all true. The thing is, everyone's bitching and complaining about it. We all know the real solution. We all know the root cause, or at least I'm trying to explain it. And there's also a solution. And it's right there at tkcivics.com, a citizen's plan. And by the way, I know some of you can't see it, but if you want to know when I go live or when I upload videos, please go to catchmy.live/tkcivics. It's a really cool application that allows you to follow any influencer or creator and make sure that the algorithms can't suppress them. It's that allows you to know when they go live or when they upload content, no matter where they do that. Thanks to everybody for being here on Instagram and on Facebook as well. I want to read a few comments and I'm going to open it up to a panel. There's Mook Dog and Jordan who are waiting in there. If they're still here, we're going to ask the question, why is everyone blaming Trump? Instead of, because I think America is missing the plot. Not, I think they are. Most Americans, including most pundits, are missing the plot of what's really happening. All right, get involved with your own community. We're not against each other. We are the ones that can combine together and get money out of politics, Dr. Pickering. Yes, that's absolutely correct. This is all about everything that's happening in social media world. Most, I don't want to say everything. A lot of the two sides of the coin is designed to divide the American populace. Because when you divide the American populace, you handicap them, you paralyze them, which means they can no longer come together. When you are fighting amongst ourselves, everyone who's in control will continue to maintain control. It's not that complicated. All the popular movements that have happened in the past have had to cross the lines, have had to become popular enough where a large segment of society supported those things. Again, civil rights movement, women's suffrage movement, labor rights movement, etc. That's how you create real change. All right, thank you all for, again, remember, please follow, subscribe, and share the videos as far as possible. I don't see many other people on social media actually trying to solve problems. I just hear people bitching and complaining. That's what I hear. Do you hear the same thing? All that happens, and just voting in the Democratic Party is not the ultimate solution. Like I said, that is not our salvation, is the Democratic Party winning and then everything is great. No, it's not. We know it's not even close to great. Gabrielle says, I'm German and live in the States, which I consider my second home. Loving the land and the people, I beg you Americans to take action. Europe is destroyed by the politics of the United States. That's absolutely true. The European Union cannot, the United States is the heart of democracy around the world. And if the United States ceases to be a democratic republic, it will be almost impossible for Europe to sustain itself. They will be pulled apart. America has always been, or in the last couple hundred years, the beacon of American values of freedom, liberty, self-rule, international world order, right? And if the United States becomes like it's becoming because of the Heritage Foundation and the tech billionaires, where it no longer ceases to be a democracy, then the world will be taken over by the wealthiest cabal of elites, e-file elites, tech billionaire elites, the Heritage Foundation. That's what will happen. So let me take some people in the panel. If there's some people that want to join, let's go to Still Living, and I'll also bring in Mook Dog if you're still here. All right, who wants to go first? Still, are you there?
But of course, the blockade is the number one element. When what's not a blockade on.
And those of you that are on Facebook and Instagram, can you hear the background or the guest audio? Still Living, you there? I don't hear you. I don't know if I'm having problems again.
I'm here.
Oh, all right.
Can-
What's up, my friend?
can
How
you
you
hear me?
doing? Yes.
Good.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
You know, I'm doing what I can. Hopefully you're doing the same.
Yeah. Well, yeah. For what it is, I totally agree. All I hear on social media is mostly Trump, 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 Trump. I'm sick of hearing his name. He's not in control. Like you say, he's just a useful idiot. I completely agree.
All right. And those of you on Instagram, cool. Thank you for confirming that you can hear. I don't know, Mook, if you're still here, I'll bring in a couple other guests. We're going to have a short panel today. But I hope everything's going well in the Pacific Northwest for you.
Oh yeah, it's really been a cool summer. It hasn't been that hot here at all. It's really something.
Cool. All right. Let me read some comments in the meantime. Why do MAGA stick their heads in the hole and deny facts? That's a great question, and I'll tell you exactly why, Dan. So I'm going to put you on mute for a moment still. All right, so that's a great question. Why do MAGA stick their heads in a hole and deny the facts? Because of ego, Dan. Because of ego. Here's the thing with most people who are MAGA, and if you're MAGA, you can tell me if you disagree with me, is that their vote is tied to their identity. They were sold something by Trump, hope and fear. Trump, and you may not understand this or believe it, but politics is about two things. It's about hope and fear. You're either selling one or the other. In Trump's case, he actually did both. To those people that believed in the immigration issue and other things that he was preaching, build the wall, etc., Obama is not an American, he gave those people hope. I know it sounds insane, but you can't deny it. But he also used fear to make them afraid of immigrants and anything else. He used fear, which is what every authoritarian type figure tries to use to take the majority and rally them behind him. Now, the problem is their identity, they don't see Trump in themselves. They don't think Trump has good morals or that he has good beliefs. They put their morals and beliefs ahead of his. They don't believe that they share the same values. I think most MAGA would agree with that. However, their ego is so fragile that they can't admit that they are wrong, that their vote is tied, their decision to vote for Trump is so tied to their identity that if they change their mind, their ego completely would collapse. Their entire identity of hardcore people that have voted for Trump, their entire identity is tied to their decision to vote for that man. And that's why they ignore facts. That is what a cult is. A cult is when you refuse to believe that that leader could have possibly been wrong. And more importantly, that you could have been wrong. That is the problem. And being a real human or a real man or a real woman is admitting when you are wrong. That is what is actually being an adult. Being a child is someone, or I don't want to say bad things about all children, but understanding that admitting you are wrong is growth. It's what makes you a bigger person. And that's something that some adults learn and some adults don't learn, is that you have to admit mistakes in order to grow. And when you don't want to admit that you are wrong and your entire identity is tied to it, then that destroys your ego. So that's why so many people on MAGA have their heads in the sand. And it is the Jim Crow playbook, and Hitler playbook as well, absolutely. I can hear on Facebook. Okay, awesome that you guys can hear people coming in now. Okay, awesome. So if there's any guests that want to join on TikTok that tell me Trump is not the problem, why do most Americans blame Trump for everything? And you can come up and you can tell me, give me an issue. Give me something that has been done by this administration, and I will tell you who is to blame for it, who has really manipulated Trump to do it. It's not that difficult. It's pretty straightforward. If it's something about Greenland or about Iran or about Ukraine war or Russia, there's always a cast of characters and a certain group of forces behind the scenes that are the actual root cause that have manipulated Trump into doing their bidding or what's in their best interest. Don't blame Trump. Oh, this is a great one. So LG says, Trump is a moron going after Iran, enriching himself. No, that's not it. Sorry. AK-47. Oh boy. What a username. Don't blame Trump. Blame the American government. By your username, maybe, I'm probably guessing right here. Don't blame Trump. Blame the American government. Well, that is a ridiculous, foolish statement to make. In a democratic republic, the ultimate blame goes to its society. The people are supposed to be the ultimate supreme leaders of the government. So if you're going to blame the American government, you need to start looking inwards and blame all of us, because the American population plays a massive role in what the government does. The government is supposed to be a representative democracy, an extension of what we want as a society for them to do. So if you're sitting there blaming the institutions of the American government, you've lost your mind. You don't understand the history of the Constitution and of our democratic republic. You cannot blame government. Yes, you can blame individuals in government, but you put them there, people. You put them there. And both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, of course, are part of the problem, are a major part of the problem. All right, what about the Iran war? The war in Iran, Judy Rose 9801. Who is the cause of the Iran war? Well, this one's pretty simple. Trump was manipulated first and foremost, initially, by the IS government, by Bibi Netanyahu and MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the supreme leader of Saudi Arabia. They wanted this war because they wanted to weaken Iran. Iran has been a thorn in, obviously, Israel's side, and Saudi Arabia is a mortal enemy of Iran, just like it is with IS. They wanted this war to start. They wanted to weaken Iran. They want to wipe them off the map or reduce their influence with Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and the enormous influence throughout the Middle East that Iran has. However, they wanted the war to start. But since the war has started, Israel has lost influence in the American political system. Not all influence. They have lost some influence. And Saudi Arabia may no longer want this war to continue. But Saudi Arabia benefits from high oil prices because they are able to get their oil out. Almost 100% of their oil can come through their east-west pipeline. So they do not need the Strait of Hormuz to get their oil into the market. All the other countries on the Strait of Hormuz, Oman, Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, Iraq, and Kuwait, all need the Strait of Hormuz. Saudi Arabia does not. And by Saudi Arabia being able to get their oil out, this is why MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, lobbied Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, which are insanity, the two people who are negotiating the stop or the continuation of the Iran war. They're supposed to be representing the United States of America. They are the lead negotiators for the United States, are Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. However, Jared Kushner is on the payroll of Saudi Arabia. His company took in $2 billion from Affinity Partners, a financial company, took in $2 billion, and Jared Kushner himself gets paid last year alone, got paid $176 million from the Saudi Arabian government. So the people who are negotiating, supposed to be negotiating on the behalf of the United States, are foreign agents. By definition, These two individuals are literally foreign agents for Saudi Arabia and is. Bibi Netanyahu used to sleep in Jared Kushner's house. They do not represent any of us as the United States. They are only grifting and enriching themselves. Now, the continuation of the war, that has more layers. That's the military-industrial complex that likes to see wars, perpetual wars continue. That's the Heritage Foundation that benefits from higher oil prices because an enormous amount of their funding comes from ExxonMobil and from the Koch industries and the former Koch brothers. And higher oil prices mean the United States companies or refineries, those companies that refine fuel, also benefit from higher oil prices. So they like this war to continue, to use American taxpayers' money and the United States military to continue to create strain on the global oil supply, which allows them to sell their gasoline at higher prices. And then it also benefits Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, and by extension, the Trump criminal family that continues to use the on and off again war to manipulate the markets, both the poly market, the calcium markets, and the stock markets to enrich themselves. This is nothing other than a giant scam and enrichment scheme, because that is all that the Trump criminal organization knows how to do. That's not an opinion. Those are historical facts and what continues to happen. Yes, so Beth Wooden French says, didn't the Houthis stop Saudi oil transports through the Red Sea? Yes, to some degree. No, they interrupted it temporarily. Now, if the Houthis that are supported by Iran were to stop Saudi Arabia, and this is why Saudi Arabia has taken a softer position and now wants the war to possibly end, because the Houthis are trying to disrupt the east-west pipeline and the oil that's being transported through the Red Sea. That is true, but it's only been a temporary small disruption, and this is why Saudi Arabia has been threatening to go after the Houthis and trying to put an end to that. So it hasn't stopped their oil distribution throughout the Red Sea. It's just created a little bit of havoc. But if it were to continue and get worse, then the Saudis would certainly not be for this war anymore. But that does here nor there in terms of why did they want it to start. MBS is an authoritarian. He is a known pew-pew guy, authoritarian. And he, you can't understand why psychopaths and people who are authoritarians do what they want to do. They always want more power and more control. Yes, Trump is an inside scoop, has the inside scoop. He is a crook. It's actually so much more Trump has the inside scoop. Again, the guy's an imbecile. But between Jared Kushner and the Witkoff family, Steve, Zach, his son Zach, and I forget the other son's name, they are the ones behind the scenes that are pulling the strings. There is a whole mafia group, if you want to call them that, behind Trump that are enriching themselves on the backs of the United States taxpayer and the world in general, society in general. All right, if anyone wants to come up and answer the question, why do most people blame Trump for everything? Jump into the box. If you're in the chat, please answer the question. Why do most people blame Trump for everything? And again, if you want to understand, what's the only true solution to take our government back and bring it back to a representative democracy, people want to burn the house down. It's so absurd that you have one of the greatest documents in the Constitution. It has a few warts and flaws. That's what amendments are for. They're supposed to fix those warts and flaws over time as things evolve. But you cannot ever burn the house down and expect you're going to build it up better. That's never going to happen. The idea of the Constitution is that all of us are supposed to ensure and protect the entire United States American culture. Is based on protecting freedom and liberty. Like the entire history, protecting our freedoms and liberties. And yet these 4 generations that are alive today, or 5, if you count Gen Alpha, the boomers, the Gen Xers, millennials, and Gen Zers are doing nothing to save the United States. We are not coming together like we did in the 1900s with the labor rights movement, civil rights movement, women's suffrage movement, consumer protections to demand change. So as Texas communists, wow, TX communist, yeah, that's your username. Vote blue down the ballot. Okay. Interesting that you have the username TX communist. And read a citizen's plan, by the way. So if you haven't already, please go to tkcivics.com, read a citizen's plan. If there's anyone that disagrees with that plan, let me know. I actually don't think it's incredible. I put together this plan, how you could save America. And this is what I'm trying to promote, is trying to become relevant enough. And so enough people hear me into people realizing that we can actually change everything. It's not too late. It's not too late. So thanks for all the likes. Please hit the screen, by the way. All the likes and gifts are very helpful for getting this live out there. And thanks for everybody for tuning in. But if you haven't gone to tkcivics.com yet, read a citizen's plan. It'll just take you a few minutes. And I think the vast majority of people will be like, wow, if that could ever happen, that would save everything. And then you have to turn your attention to not if it could happen, to understanding that it absolutely could happen if enough people supported it. It's not that complicated. Punch Blue says he is the mouthpiece and the president, so he gets the blame. I am disgusted by where our country is going. Absolutely, but they're missing the plot. Everyone is missing the plot, including the left-wing pundits, saying that, blaming him for everything, because all of the blame comes from just a very few, relatively few groups or organizations. It's either Heritage Foundation, Project 2025, or it's certain foreign governments like Russia, Saudi Arabia, and others. It's some of it from like the oil industry, which is also associated with the Heritage Foundation. And then you have the crypto crime ring, and then you have a lot of foreign government influence. Virtually everything, and the tech billionaires. Sorry, I forgot one of the really big pieces of this was the technocrats or the tech billionaires, specifically a very small group of them. David Sachs, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, not so much Jeff Zuckerberg, but Jeff Bezos, the Ellisons. There's about 6 or 8 massive billionaires that are trying to control everything. We all know this because we did not ask to be surveilled. We have a 4th Amendment right to unreasonable search and seizure. We did not ask for flock cameras to be put on every street corner. The United States society did not ask for our city councils to allow flock cameras to go up on every street corner. The American population did not ask for all these AI data centers to be using our power and our water and to raise the electric prices and to allow all of our data to be collected from our automobiles, from the flock cameras, and to become a surveillance state. This started to happen. This was the big threat with the Patriot Act back in the early 2000s. And this is what's coming to life, is that we are all being surveilled. We did not ask for this. It is against the Constitution. It is against the 4th Amendment. And yet here we are not doing much about it. And all of this data is being leveraged, not just by government. Bad enough that government has this data. What makes this even worse is that the tech billionaires have this data, and they are mapping through their flock cameras. They are mapping everywhere you go. Everywhere you go is being mapped from the data by flock cameras and other surveillance systems, even those inside of your car, if you're driving one of those spy vehicles. If you're driving a spy vehicle with lots of circuits and connected to the internet, which most modern cars today are, that data is being fed to those corporations through their AI data centers. So if you're driving a spy vehicle, and of course, we're all being monitored by Flock, which again is against the 4th Amendment. And all of this data, actually, I'm not even going to tell you. Let's do a quote. Essentially, the Flock CEO last week gave an example. The Flock CEO basically said that Flock cameras are good because you can equate it to a 5-year-old. Is if all your children are doing something wrong and they don't know you're watching. If you're not watching, they'll continue to do something wrong. But if you're watching, they will stop doing what's wrong. And he equated the American society to the same thing, meaning that Americans, all Americans, need to be surveilled, because if they know they're being surveilled, they're going to act like a 5-year-old, and they will act properly, which means ultimate control. This is the words out of the Flock CEO himself. He is the one that made that analogy to the United States population being like 5-year-olds, and they need to be monitored to keep them in control. Like, you can't make this shit up. The Flock CEO actually called it a good thing because of that fact. And he compared all Americans to that 5-year-old analogy. I have a newer 2025 vehicle and it galls me to be surveilled. I don't, and I'm sorry to hear that. That's why I would encourage people, your data is the most important thing, and it's being manipulated or collected to track everything that you do. Even your Wi-Fi connections, depending on the type of modem that you have in your house, can actually tell you where you are in the house and what you're doing. Like, this sounds crazy, but the new cable modems that send out a Wi-Fi signal, some of the cable companies, if you were using cable internet and you're using a certain modem, their radio waves can detect those waves that are coming out of the Wi-Fi, can see where people are. Not even just where people are in the house, but who those people are. They can tell by their body movements who that individual is, where they are in the house, and what they're doing. So you talk about surveillance. It's happening at the automobile level. It's happening at the Flock camera level. It's even happening inside of your home. And that data can be given in the future, to organizations like police to see what you're doing in your own home. It's even worse than if you had cameras in your house, because they can detect everything that you're doing, whether you're taking a shit or anything else. These, again, certain modems, you can look at this up. I forget the name of the technology that's used. They can see people moving throughout their house and what they're doing and who they are. And that is also going back to these AI data centers. Through your TV, I don't know about through your TV. It depends on the Wi-Fi signals that you have in your home. But again, we're turning it into a surveillance state. I'm not telling anything new. Maybe the details are a little bit new to many of you, that we are being turned into a surveillance state. The United States population did not vote for that. Our rights and our constitutional Fourth Amendment is being given up to allow the tech billionaires to make us dependents. That is the goal of the psychopaths and the sociopaths that are the tech billionaires, in order to have ultimate control over the entire population and make us all dependent on it. Why did everyone blame President Obama? I don't know what you're going with that, Sean the Great. Shut off the money to the tech and corporate greed and stop the businesses like Flock. That's exactly right. A 28th Amendment would do that. For those that you don't know, there are 27 constitutional amendments, and there needs to be a 28th. But many people say you can't ratify a new constitutional amendment. It's bullshit. Yes, you could. There were 12 of them passed in the 1900s, and there could be again if there was a popular movement of Americans that wanted to rise up and say enough. We have some guests that have been requesting. My apologies. So all lefts and CF, you're up next.
Oh, hello.
Hey there. Sorry, I missed those guest requests.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. What say you?
Well, I guess I'm a little confused because I requested a while ago and I'm listening to you, and you described several things, several instances of what sound like corruption within the Trump administration. And yet, for some reason, it seems like, you don't want to place any of the blame on him for those things. So I'm just wondering how you square that circle.
Oh, that's a great question. Because you have to understand what's really at play, right? So can you blame Trump? Yes. If you like, he's the one allowing it to happen, right? But he's not the root cause. He's not the mastermind behind it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
So how about the ballroom?
What about the ballroom?
You don't think that that's an issue just on its face? Who's to blame for that?
Yeah. So if you probably came in a little bit late, I said at the beginning, there's only a couple things that Trump knows how to do well. One is stick his name on something. Number two is either take money in the past, get a loan from banks or the American taxpayer, and then to grift himself for his own personal self-enrichment. So, and then make it go bankrupt, right?
Okay, let's stop there.
Yeah.
So I agree with what you say. Now, what does it say to the man who fills an entire administration with people who say nothing but yes to him and enable him to do that? Who does that blame ultimately lie with?
On the Heritage Foundation.
The Heritage Foundation.
Project 2025.
And so Trump was forced to work with the Heritage Foundation.
See, you're believing that Trump actually has a belief system, that he has morals, that he has values. Right?
No, I don't believe that he has any morals. So
Okay.
you're incorrect.
All right. So I think there's really a non-disagreement here. If you want to place sole blame on Trump, what I'm saying is that's your mistake. If you take somebody with no values and no morals and no belief system, and you blame them for everything, and you cease to see.
Well, hold on. Let's stay on. I haven't blamed
finish.
him for everything. I gave you a specific
Okay.
example. You're getting a little off topic.
No, and I'm explaining that the Heritage Foundation and the foreign governments and the tech billionaires are the ones that are ultimately manipulating him.
Okay. And so the fact that he is so easily manipulated, the fact that simple compliments and favors will sway him to do virtually anything that actual competent world leaders will do is somehow not his fault.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not his fault. There's certain plenty of the blame.
That is what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying. He shares in the blame from allowing it to happen. But if you are going to, but you're going to say that he's the ultimate problem is him and not the root cause. What is the root cause of why he gets manipulated?
What is the root cause of someone who is completely ethical and immoral using the office of the presidency to enrich himself and his family? Who has more authority in the Trump administration than Donald Trump? Can you answer that question?
Yes, I can. It's a very obviously ultimate authority is his.
Okay. So it would then follow then that he should probably accept the majority of the blame for what's happening right now. But you don't seem to want to take it to that logical conclusion, which confuses me.
All right. I think the reason you're getting confused is because I'm trying to point out to those people who want to just talk about Trump is you're missing the rip current that's happening underneath the waves that are crashing in. Trump is allowing the waves. Everyone's getting focused on, yes, he is the ultimate decision maker for allowing these things to happen. But that is inevitable when you have someone with no morals and no values and can easily be manipulated. And all I'm telling most Americans to understand is if you are just going to focus ultimate blame on him and not understand that those people and those forces that are manipulating him, that are the real power brokers, the ones with the strategy to tear down the American democracy using Trump as the vessel, which I know you understand. Trump is the vessel for this.
So are you somehow under the impression that these shadowy forces that you speak of didn't exist before Donald Trump and that the government has not been lobbied and controlled to some extent for a very long time?
Am I under that impression?
Yeah, yes.
You think I'm under that impression?
No, I'm asking that question. That's a serious question.
No, of course not.
Okay. So yet Donald Trump is the first president who has shown us these insane levels of corruption, tore down all checks and balances, and allowed, and quite frankly, probably encouraged and orchestrated for all of these things to happen. It's not like companies just started lobbying the government. It's not like these shadowy figures just came about when Donald Trump became the president. These things have existed forever, and yet every president before Donald Trump has managed to keep them in check somewhat.
Okay.
So again, what's the difference here?
The difference is One used to be working as an influence from the outside. Now they're no longer on the outside. These people from the Heritage Foundation, I have a whole list right here. The Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, Pam Bondi, Russell Vogt, Steve Miller, Peter Navarro, Brendan Carr, Tom Homan, Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, the 6 Supreme Court justices that were put up by the Federalist Society. They are now no longer on the outside of government.
And why did they do that?
Let me finish.
No, because you're getting off topic again. You like to do that.
Let me finish. All right, shut up for a second and let me finish. Those individuals are now working inside the government. They are now part of the government. Yes, Trump has allowed them to do that. But he used to say he doesn't even know what Project 2025 is. They are now influencing government from inside the government. That is the difference. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't. There is no difference. Again, the Heritage Foundation has existed for a very long time. All of these entities have existed for a very long time. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't answer my question. It's all you seem to want to do is take it all the way up to the end and say, well, but it's really not his fault. If you don't mind me asking, who did you vote for in the last election?
Who do you think I voted for?
I'm assuming Trump.
See, that would be your very wrong assumption for you to make.
Well, that's why I asked the question.
No.
Why? Let's not answer questions with questions. So who did you vote for?
I'll do whatever I want on my show. And if you don't like
Great.
it, you can kiss off, my friend.
You're getting a little mad right now. Relax.
I'm getting triggered because you're being a tool. This is my show. I'm answering your questions how I will want to answer them. And if you don't understand that there was a very big difference between the Heritage Foundation from being outside of the government, from actually working inside the government more than it ever has before, with actually agents and operatives working inside this administration. Is it Trump's fault? Listen carefully. Is it Trump's fault for allowing them? Yes. Do you hear me? You hear me clearly? Yes, it is his fault.
Right. So who forced Donald Trump to get in bed with the Heritage Foundation? Even if I accept your premise, who forced him to do that? Or was it more that he saw a mutually beneficial situation where he was going to profit to the tune of $2 billion a year if he was to get elected and do what they wanted him to do?
Yeah.
Who forced him to get in bed with him?
No one forced him. He was manipulated to do so. Yes.
So it was his decision to do that.
Yes, of course.
So if Donald Trump doesn't make that decision, we don't have the corruption from the Heritage Foundation,
but again,
correct?
You answer your own question. The second part of that was that the Heritage Foundation and other groups, just like the tech billionaires, just like Russia, made him deals that were served his own best interest to keep him in power and to enrich himself, right?
Deals which he could have easily refused.
But yes, of course.
It was a choice to make those deals.
I'm not arguing that you're not right there. Of course you're right.
So he ultimately then is the root cause for these issues. What you're saying just doesn't make sense.
Okay, you don't. So now I'll go back to what you said earlier. So he is not the root cause because just a few moments ago, you were saying that all these forces existed before Trump, right?
Correct.
Okay. Have they been manipulating our government even in the days prior to Trump?
Correct.
Okay. So now let's get to the root cause. What allows those organizations to manipulate and infect or infiltrate our government? What does that?
A lot of different things, but that wasn't my question.
It's one thing. It's money.
I mean, well, sure, of course,
okay,
yes.
So there's your root cause.
Correct. But again, how many presidents before Donald Trump have profited $2 billion in the first year of their term? That's like taking, putting an elephant and a mouse in a room and saying, well, or let's say an elephant and a mouse sized problem in a room and saying, well, they're two problems, so they're both the same. I mean, let's just ignore all context of what we're talking. Okay, how about this? Let's pick a specific example. How about the reporting that the Wall Street Journal just did with Trump's stock disclosures from last month, or maybe it was June?
3,600 trades plus in the first quarter. Correct.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah. And so who's responsible for those?
Ultimately responsible?
Uh-huh.
Trump and his criminal crime ring. Yes.
Oh, okay. But people shouldn't blame him for that, right?
No, again, you weren't here the whole time. When I talk about grifting and self-enrichment,
Dude, your prompt says Trump is not the problem, but you're conceding that Trump is the reason for these problems.
okay, let's do comprehension 101. Why do most
Yes,
people
please. Yeah, you should try it. Go
why
ahead.
do most people blame Trump for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
For
And now I'm giving you a
everything.
specific example.
I didn't say right. But yes,
No, well, to be clear, the prompt says Trump is not the problem in all caps. That's kind of like the attention grabber, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling what I'm trying to say. You weren't here in the beginning. I'm trying to convey to people that the Americans, many Americans, are missing the ultimate plot. When the rip current underneath is all these other forces of money and influence that are using Trump to get his way, he is their vessel, as you know, and I know you agree with. Trump is their useful idiot, correct?
Sure. But again, that's not what I'm arguing. I'm arguing that there's always been, or at least for a very long time, some level of corruption in government. Lobbying, we could go on and on and on. Trump has completely decimated those guardrails. And we've never seen corruption like we're seeing from this administration. And he is the reason why.
Now, so one of the commenters says, caller, we're on the same team. Caller, if you want to remove Trump. Yes. So we're arguing about some details that we may disagree with. But if you think removing Trump is going to save everything or
Have
cure
I said
everything,
that?
no, but the word if, comprehension again, if you are alluding to that.
Well, excuse me.
wouldn't-
Let's not write that off to comprehension when you are putting words in my mouth that I've not said.
Well, that's why I use big words like if.
Okay, that's yeah.
Okay. All right. So if Americans are missing the plot that we're all being divided, right? We're all being divided on social media to be left or to be right, which allows people in control to remain in power. You agree with that?
Sure.
Okay. Not that complicated. We're on the same page. I don't know what you're arguing about so defiantly about some of these things.
Well, first of all, you're speaking for all Americans. Some of us have seen this for quite a long time. But again, we at least had a semi-functional society. The damage that Donald Trump has done in his first year of his second term is going to take decades to recover from. And that is absolutely his fault. So, it's these people who want to play this both sidesism now, which is kind of why I assume that you incorrectly, of course, voted for Trump, because what we're actually seeing a lot of now is MAGA who are finally realizing that they've made a huge mistake. And now they want to preach this togetherness and kumbaya and saying both sides are bad, when some people are not just going to ignore the damage that all of they have done along with Donald Trump. So,
but you know what?
you're kind of towing the same line.
This is where I'll step in. I'll be that voice, right? Voted for Trump, definitely woke up. I'll say that. Don't support Trump in anything that he's doing right now. I can't name anything that he's done that I'm proud of, right? But I can say this. I think that energy consumption and energy prices has a direct correlation to GDP growth. And if you look at what happened under Trump's first administration, when he did that OPEC deal or whatnot during the pandemic, and if you look at what happens now with Iran, he's raised energy prices both times.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that. The point that I'm trying to make is...
I let you guys talk for a while.
Yeah, my bad. Go ahead. You're good.
But
CF,
I guess the point...
CF, stay on topic, though.
Well, I thought I was, because the point that I'm making is, like, GDP and money and all that stuff, that's what all this stuff comes down to. I think that if people actually felt like they were getting their money's worth in America, we wouldn't have an issue with immigration at all. People would be so welcoming to everybody from around the world if we actually were taking care of our veterans and single mothers and our streets were clean and we didn't have homeless people. We wouldn't have that problem. So when I'm talking about energy and GDP growth, I'm talking about what he's done to make our country better. And it's all about money at the end of the day because it answers all problems. So I thought I was on topic, but
Okay.
I'll let you guys go back to what you were saying.
I just wanted to add to that. We agree, again, that there's corruption within government. But you mentioned in your response to me divisiveness. There has been no one more divisive and driven that wedge between the two political sides of the aisle than Donald Trump. Name calling every single day, calling people the enemy. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but we have by far reached a new low in the way we talk, discourse, everything. And that is because of him and his rhetoric that he spews every single day. That is just a
right.
fact.
But what's the solution? Because I don't think the solution are Democrats, right? We see a civil war going on within the Democratic Party right now between DSA and traditional Democrats. So what's the solution? What got us here? Don't forget 2024, that climate where a lot of Democrats sat out and did not vote for either candidate.
All right.
The solution.
Time out just for a moment. All right. Let me go back in history for a moment to give everybody up to. So I can't read the full username. All left. What you're suggesting that Trump is to blame for everything. So let's hold on to that. Yes, an enormous amount of culpability is a.
I'm sorry, that's not what I suggested.
All right. What are you? Hold on. Okay. So through 2016, things have absolutely. Trump is to blame for a lot. I'm saying that, not yours. You can be blamed for a lot, but you have to. If you're going to say, how do we get to this point, and you're blaming everything on Trump, if someone, not you, if someone is blaming everything on Trump, you're failing to realize that when the Heritage Foundation started in 1971 and then started gaining power with the Reagan administration, and then we removed media ownership rights and the fairness doctrine from media, and then even in Clinton removed some campaign finance reforms during his administration, and throughout the Bush administration, and then Citizens United under Obama, which is not Obama's fault, of course. So when you, and I'm trying to do this segue quickly, that when you allowed this influence, meaning the United States population through its representation, allowed the campaign finance restrictions to be continue to be removed, when you allowed organizations like the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation and dozens of other groups like them, influences, and allowed every Republican and Democratic administration since the 1980s has been culpable in allowing some of this to happen, which leads you to the point where you can get to a point where you can have someone, a divisive figure like Trump, come in and being manipulated by those same organizations. That's how we got to where we are. It's not just Donald Trump. Ultimate root cause of everything is the influence and corruption by money, which in the last 15 years has been exacerbated by the removal or the passing of Citizens United, which allowed super PACs, which are political corporations. The only intent of a super PAC is to infiltrate and influence government through money and those people who are giving them money. That's how you get to where we got.
I mean, I don't disagree with any of what you said, but that's not been the topic of conversation. And the fact of the matter is, most people right now, day-to-day people, that's not what they're thinking about. I think that we do have a lot of common ground here, but the way that you portray this and the way that, especially some of the things that you said earlier come across, makes it seem like what you're saying is that Donald Trump is not the root cause of any of it. And what I'm saying is that's what I disagree with. I'm not saying that he is the root cause of everything. But again, my example was the ballroom, right? I mean, I would hope that all of us can agree that adding 3.8 trillion to the deficit while simultaneously moving emergency funds around so that we can spend $400 million on a ballroom is a huge issue, especially given the current state of the economy right now. No?
I think what he's saying is basically what I've been hearing is Donald Trump is the product of inadequate Democratic leadership. That's what it sounds like to me. Because
no, I don't think CF, that's what he's saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying, CF.
Well, that's what it sounds like.
Well, I'm telling you straight up, you're having a hearing problem. It's a problem of both parties, and this all left may not like hearing this. Here's what it ultimately comes down to for both of you. Let me try and distill something down that I think you'll both understand. Not that you have to understand a lot.
Stop being condescending. Okay, you're not really saying much. To be fair, you're really not. But go ahead.
Really? Okay. Well,
yeah.
I'll enlighten you with this. Here, if you have a divided America, you have a dying America, you have a failing America. Then what you may not or you have a trouble understanding.
You can't help yourself. Go ahead.
If you have a divided America, you will continue to allow those people with control and influence to take control and completely eradicate the system of government we have, which is a representative democracy. If you can't understand, so you may despise people who are MAGA, and for maybe good reason, but you have to remember the humanity, whether it's MAGA, whether it's people in Germany in the 1930s or in many other civilizations before them, they are manipulated to allow someone or some groups to control or maintain power or take power. And if you continue to have this left versus right dichotomy, you will never bring the United States back to a true representative democracy. It will never
Wait,
happen.
what? So they should have been friendly with the Yahtzees?
Who?
We should have just had civil discourse with them?
Who? I don't
With
know.
Yahtzees?
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's what you compared this to. You said the people in Germany, and then you said MAGA. So we're comparing those people, and you're saying that basically we have to look at MAGA basically like they're human beings, right? And have discourse and have a representative. They should be representative in our democracy. So the Yahtzees should have representation. Is that what you're saying?
Do you not think that there are Yahtzees in the Heritage Foundation that aren't having representation in our government right now?
I don't think they deserve representation. I think that
Post-
we should silence that type of.
But they are. Okay. You understand that. You understand there are extreme right-wing forces in this current administration that you could easily, the Heritage Foundation, which is based on a white Christian nationalist organization, which is just, like code for being a Yahtzee without using those words. That's literally what you have in some portions of government and some people. Stephen Miller, does that ring a bell?
Yes, what about him?
Yahtzee.
Sure. Who appointed him?
Yeah, we get it. I'm not arguing with you.
You went back to the yes, we're divided and this and that. In recent history, within the last few decades, do you think there's one side of the aisle that's more responsible for the rhetoric and the divisiveness than the other?
Of course.
And which one would that be?
That would be the red one. Come on.
Okay.
Let's get real.
Okay, sure, absolutely. But again, everything you say is just, comes off as this right down the middle, just we're all divided and we got to get past that. There are people on social media right now who still say shit like, I saw somebody in your comments saying that the ballroom didn't cost you a penny. Well, yes, it did. I know Donald Trump has said that it's all privately funded, but that's not true. And we know that that's not true. So again, I mean, in your life right now, I see people saying things that are very, very misinformed and still a part of that cult. And so again, while I agree that both sides are divided, we have people on that side of the aisle who live in a completely different reality. And until we can get the majority of those people to clean up their own house and the damage that they've done, this is not going to be just a both sides issue. We're way past that. That's the point that I'm making.
And if you don't figure out an off-ramp for some of those people to come to a different conclusion, you're not going to be winning. You will be losing.
And why is that my responsibility?
It's all of our responsibility.
It is. So you tell me how I'm going to get someone who still believes that foreign countries are paying the tariffs to see the light of day when it comes to Donald Trump, or that the ballroom is 100% privately funded. Or defending the fact that, again, the Supreme Court is giving the go-ahead for him to spend $400 billion on a ballroom when there are people in the state of Indiana who have been without power for 10 days right now.
Who gave the Supreme Court the power?
Who gave the Constitution?
Okay. Who? No. Who?
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to really go down to the nuance of it, yes, of course, the Constitution. Who?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me simplify it for you. Donald Trump, then.
No, Donald Trump appointed 6 of the 9 Supreme Court justices?
He appointed 3, didn't he?
He appointed 3. Did he appoint the
Yes.
other 3? Who manipulated Trump to appoint those people?
Who manipulated him?
Yes, who basically forced it on him?
Oh, forced it on him.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to hear your evidence that it was forced on him.
So why is J.D. Vance the vice president of the United States?
Because of Peter Thiel.
And Elon Musk, correct.
Sure.
Right. If you don't have J.D. Vance as your vice president, we're not going to give you X amount of money for your campaign, correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Federalist Society. The Federalist Society, since the 1980s, has been promoting the, what do you call it, elevation of people, that whenever you have a Republican president, to make sure that the Supreme Court justices have to come from a list that's on the Federalist Society, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So there's one example of that. You're blaming Trump, sounds like.
I'm sorry. We need to go back further than that, though. So who forced Donald Trump to run for president for his second term? It goes back a little further than that, doesn't it?
What do you mean? Who forced him in 2022? 2024?
Yes.
What do you mean, who forced him?
Who forced him? Because
His ego.
it's all these external forces applying pressure to him that are the root cause for all of these problems. But why did he run for president?
You and I have a fundamental misunderstanding of what we're trying to do here.
That's wild, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is wild because we are actually agreeing on most things, but you want to continue.
No, because you just don't want to take it back a little bit further. You want to say that Musk and Peter Thiel and the Federalist Society, they applied all this pressure on him so that they can get their wish list. But why did they do that? Because he was running for president. And I'm saying, who forced him to run for president? Or was it the fact that he ran for president solely out of self-interest so that he didn't wind up in prison for what he did the first time around?
Sure. Just like Netanyahu's doing now, right? Or did a few years ago.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Something, again, that we have never seen in recent history. A president running for a second term to avoid prison. Right? So again, both sides, I agree with you. We're on that page, but it is a completely different animal that we're dealing with. And I don't think it furthers the dialogue when you just want to pass it off as this both sides thing, and it's all these shadowy figures who, I guess, are the root cause or majority to blame. Donald Trump is a corrupt piece of garbage, and yes, he was ripe for the picking for all of these people. But again, it is his fault that he is a corrupt piece of garbage. It is his fault that he has made these decisions. And frankly, I actually would almost put more of the onus on MAGA and Trump voters for putting him in office the second time around.
Okay. Don't disagree. Won't disagree with that, but I don't know what your solution is. See, I think the problem it comes down to is you think the solution is what?
I think the solution is to combat these MAGA morons every step of the way until they are the minority, and put more pressure on the ones who are seeing the light of day and finally waking up, like the gentleman who just called in. Because until those people, in my opinion, those people don't just get to say, hey, I messed up, I was wrong, I'm on the team now. No, you don't get to be on the team right now. What you need to do is you need to turn around.
You can't kick him off the team.
I can. Well, no, I don't. I'm not kicking him off the team. I'm not accepting him onto the team yet, because until you turn around and go back into your MAGA community and your MAGA cult and you work to undo all of the damage that you did along with those people, and you start putting in the work there to bring more of them to the light of day, you're not on the team, and you don't get to be on the team.
See, sadly, I think you're going to lose.
We already lost.
No, you're
We all lost
you're
when Trump got
you're going
elected
to
again.
lose more. The United States as a society can never win like that. You are playing the typical tribal. I understand by the way, your point of view. I understand your disdain, your obvious disdain for a certain segment of the population. I get it. If you continue to uphold that disdain, you will and we will all continue to lose. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And that's what a lot of hardcore leftists don't understand.
My friend, we already lost. We already lost. This was an open book test. I hate to use that term because it's overused so much. I was on live. I was out in communities talking with these people every single day before the election. They were all warned that this stuff was going to happen. Some of us read Project 2025. And what did these people say? Did they listen? Did they want to listen? No, because Donald Trump has poisoned them that the left side of the aisle is quite literally the enemy. Okay? I argued with these people for a year about how Donald Trump was going to come in and lower gas prices and lower the cost of everything and no new wars. And we're going to release the e-files and we're going to considerably pay off the national debt. And what happened? And now those same people are going into lives and telling me that they still support Trump because he fulfilled every one of his promises. And you're telling me I have to do the work to repair that damage? My friends, you don't live in reality. Respectfully, we agree on a lot, but no, absolutely not.
You see, your hate is blinding you.
It's not hate. It's not hate.
It is hate.
Well, I mean,
See?
I do hate quite a lot of them. Yes, sure. I'll fully admit that. But everything that has happened since Donald Trump was elected the second time around is primarily their fault.
All right. Well, there you go. I appreciate your perspective. I think your hate is going to continue to blind you. And if you continue to go that route, I'm about as
Well, so
virtually
if,
sure as
if you don't
possible.
mind me asking, you want to label that as hate. What's your solution to this problem?
My solution is just publicly published right at tkcivics.com, a citizen's
And
plan.
that is, okay, summarize that for us.
It's strictly that you need to have a 28th Amendment to remove all political contributions by super PACs, corporations, and so forth.
You think the current climate in the United States of America, we could actually amend the Constitution?
Yep.
Oh, brother, you're more lost than I thought.
Really? No. See, then you fail to understand how many amendments were passed in the 1900s.
How many?
12.
Uh-huh. And when was the most recent one passed?
1997, 1992.
That's correct. And how much have things changed since the 90s in this country?
Oh, right. How much has things changed? A whole lot, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay. And does you think change only goes one direction?
No, absolutely not. But
Okay.
but again, I think maybe you're just not living in reality. If again,
Okay. Let me give you some reality. I understand. I'm sorry to interrupt. Listen, in Hawaii 3 months ago, the entire state legislature voted to ban corporate influence and money in political campaigns, except for one Republican. The entire state legislators decided to change the rules of what corporations could do in terms of political elections. All state legislatures, Republican and Republican alike, voted for it except for one Republican. Is that reality?
sure.
Okay. So I understand, by the way, I understand why you've been manipulated and we have all been manipulated into thinking you cannot make change.
I have absolutely not been manipulated. Again, your condescension doesn't work here,
That
but
wasn't
go
meant
ahead.
to be condescending at all, by the
Okay,
way.
go ahead.
So the influence, all messaging that's out in the world from traditional media and social media has the vast majority of Americans believing that things cannot be fixed. I understand they're really dire, but the ultimate responsibility, I given you an example in Hawaii that all state legislatures agreed that you should not have the political influence of corporations and political organizations and groups like the Heritage Foundation involved in politics.
Using a bipartisan effort in Hawaii as an equivalent to amending the U.S. Constitution is just not based in reality.
No,
Then you
don't know how
respectfully, it's not.
Then you don't know how to connect the dots. Yes, it is a small
Okay,
thing.
what's required to amend the Constitution?
You think I don't know this? Do you really think I don't know this?
I'm not sure.
Really? You don't think I'm sure? I'm sure that what it takes to amend the Constitution? How many constitutions? Did I tell you how many were passed in the 1900s?
But again, you are comparing that to something that was passed locally in the state of Hawaii. Two very different things, correct?
Okay. Now there's also the Montana plan. Have you heard of that?
No.
The Montana plan is something similar where Montana wants to ban the same thing, right? They want to make sure that corporations cannot be involved in politics. So now you're talking two states. Yes, two small states, Hawaii and Montana, right? The problem is there's 40 other states. So someone like in your mindset might say that, oh, well, 2 states does not make 50 states and you're a long way away. And you would be correct. It is a long way away. But you know what? 2 is better than 0. What if 2 turns into 10? What if 2 turns into 25? This is how you build shit. This is how you grow something. And the point is that you believe that it can't happen. Although the vast majority of Americans would agree, and I've done polls on this, and you can go to TK Civics and look at the poll, that would agree that this is the issue that unites everyone together. As much as you might disdain those people, right?
Uh-huh.
You can't ignore that if you're actually going to solve problems, you have to stop bitching about just who's to blame for it.
I see. So, okay. So let's use that example. So majority approval, both sides of the aisle, means that we can get it done. Is that what you're saying?
Majority approval of what?
I don't know. What are you using? Polling? You're saying this is the one thing that unites both sides based on polls, or what?
How many? Well, and I'm not trying not to answer your question. Let's say, how many hardcore MAGAs were there that really supported Trump? Roughly, give me, what are your guess? 70 million plus million people voted for him. Yes, doesn't mean they're all hardcore MAGA. How many people started to change everything?
Well, I mean, you're talking about more recently. That number is lower, but I don't know by how much.
Let's say agree to 40, 50 million. Sound about right?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So there's 40.
Sure. I'll humor you.
Okay. So there's 40 to 50 million people that allowed a movement to take hold and influence other people to vote for this individual. What I'm trying to explain to you is there are more than 40 or 50 million of people that understand and would agree that the influence in the political system from the money in those organizations I mentioned and foreign governments is, whether you determine the root cause of it or I do, it doesn't really matter. They would all agree with that. What I'm saying is you've seen a massive change that you might not see a reality to fixing over the last 20 years. What I'm saying is 40 to 50 million Americans who would come together to do exactly that, what happened in Hawaii or what happened in Montana, could and would change everything. And yet a lot of people think, and this whole point of the tkcivics.com website is to let people know that, yes, things are dire. We might lose the American system of government, our representative democracy, but only if the same number of people and more were to want to do something different. That's how you had the labor rights movement. That's how you had the civil rights movement, the women's suffrage movement. Political representation in our government is just an extension of our own voice. So if you wanted to pass a constitutional amendment, by the way, which is just a written piece of document.
Wait. I'm sorry. Our own voice, as in the majority of people?
I don't know if you necessarily need a majority, but a majority, of course, would be ideal. Yes.
Okay, but it's not actually a majority, though, correct?
Well, it would be. Sort of take the analogy of the 40 to 50 million MAGA, hardcore MAGA. They convinced an additional 20 to 30 million people. What I'm saying is there's momentum. There's momentum in popular movements, and that momentum could change things. So it doesn't have to start out as a majority. In any life cycle of a movement, you have the early people that are the ambassadors, then you have the early adopters, and then you have the mainstream, right? It takes a while.
Okay, that's fine. But I need to back you up, because now you're saying that the government is just an extension of we the people, and they're just our voice because we put them in there. Is that correct?
They're supposed to be.
Okay, but the whole first half of this conversation was about about all the shadowy figures that are actually puppeteering the government. So which one is it?
It's both.
Okay, so it's not just, so when you make a claim like that, you're kind of contradicting yourself a little bit, right?
No, I'm trying to connect.
It's not just one. I mean, ideally, sure, in pie in the sky land, yes, our representatives are just our voice. But that's really not the case and has not been for a very long time.
That's true.
Right?
Well, you have two factors here. You have the one who gets you elected, which you still have to have the votes to do that, right? So you have this idea, a concept of a representative democracy where the people voting have to vote in your representatives. But once they're in to government, then they no longer have to represent you, right? That's
sure.
That's the dichotomy that you have here, is that you still have to convince the American public that you're right and you're wrong. But once they get in there, they no longer have to represent you.
I don't even necessarily agree with that. I think that you can convince a gullible group of people that the guy you're running against is a communist when you don't know what a communist is, and that's enough to get you elected.
Sure. That's true.
So, but again, I want to circle back to the point that I was trying to make. Forgive me for a second, because you used the Hawaii example and the Montana example, and that's fine, but I'm still going to press you on the fact that your proposed solution to this was to amend the Constitution. And as we both know, you need about 3/4 of state governments to do that, or you need a supermajority in both houses of Congress.
3/4.
And that is That is pie in the sky thinking, my friend, if you think that we're going to get that accomplished anytime soon. I mean, Donald Trump, we live in a country right now where Trump is pressuring state governments to gerrymander just so that they can try and maintain power. And you think that somehow we're going to go from that all the way to the complete opposite end of the spectrum and legitimately passing a constitutional amendment, I do not find to be realistic at all. Maybe a very long time from now, but what happens in between those two periods is my question to you until we get that done.
No one knows.
And also add that broadcasting to everybody on this platform that Trump isn't the problem.
Who's broadcasting that?
I think what's
You
I think
are.
what's
It's
un-
right over your head.
It's a
The
conversation.
very
table.
first
what's
words on
unreali-
the top of the screen are Trump is not the problem.
I think what's unrealistic is trying to pretend like you can do anything about it until he leaves office and then vote someone that you like in. I mean, why all this haranguing and hemming and hawing? He's in office. He's already elected. If somebody made the point earlier about it's the first time a president ran to keep himself out of prison. Well, the voters had a chance to weigh in on that question and they answered. And, people don't like the choice, but he's in office. What do you want to do? Impeach him again?
Well, I think at the very least, we could start by acknowledging that right now he is most of the problem that we're currently facing.
What's
Which
the
is
solution?
what?
What's the solution, people?
Wait, why do you keep asking for a solution? What he's specifically addressing is the words that you have above your head on your background. And every time he addresses that, you want to pivot to something else. Why can't you just respond to the words above your head that he has addressed?
I've been responding for the past hour and a half.
No, you haven't.
Yes,
You've
I have.
blamed it on Stephen Miller and everybody else.
Yes.
And explained. And then when he points out how, no, Stephen Miller's only there because Trump ran to begin with, then you sat there with an embarrassed smirk on your face
I'm not embarrassed.
and
There's no
had to
embarrassed
pivot.
smirk. No, I don't have to pivot. I think there's something inherently wrong with you. You can absolutely blame Trump for allowing everything to happen, right? Everything that you think that has happened is wrong. You can absolutely blame Trump for allowing to happen. But to think that he was the mastermind behind it or he was the influence of it is the point I'm trying to get across to most people is that
Then why doesn't your background say that? Why does it have an
this is why you
overly
have a
vague-
live with an hour and a half where I get to explain these things, because all you do when you listen to left-wing pundits on progressives on YouTube or on TikTok or anywhere else, all they do is focus their attention on Trump. And here's the point I'm trying to make. If you continue to only blame Trump as the only problem, as the root cause of the problem, that you're failing to realize that are who the really masterminds are and what the strategy is behind this thing right here, the mandate for leadership. The strategy to tear down the American democracy that is backed by the tech billionaires, that is backed by the Heritage Foundation. That is the strategy. These are the people who actually have a plan, who are not just sociopaths, right? They are ideologues. They are the ones that are using any figure, any person in power, including Trump, which most of all Trump, using him over the past 40 years, using all of our government officials that they could manipulate in order to promote a white Christian nationalist agenda or to allow foreign governments to infiltrate the government. The whole Greenland thing that there's proposed is actually in the mandate for leadership. So my point is, so you can read that and come out with one conclusion. But when you actually listen to my words and you understand that there are many forces behind the scene that are, yes, leveraging Trump more than anyone has ever been leveraged before to tear down our representative democracy. But if you ignore these groups, then you are failing to understand the real power players behind the scenes.
And that's fine. But my response to you is I'm not ignoring those groups. But again, the point is the more immediate threat right now is Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has exacerbated all of these problems exponentially. You want to look 40 steps down the road and look at what's the solution so that we can all come together. The point that I'm making is that there is decades of work to be done between now and then. And so the first thing that we need to do is, one, acknowledge that Donald Trump right now is the problem. And we need to push back on people who support him and the people that he is endorsing to run for Congress every step of the way until we can get him out of office and until we've done, and whoever runs next after him. The fact of the matter is that the Republican Party is corrupted, and Donald Trump has been a cancer to the Republican Party. But let's be real, this is not going to stop with Trump. Vance, whoever they're going to try to put in next, is just going to try to carry on this legacy, like you said, thanks in part to the Heritage Foundation. Yes? So until we fight that, but again, we need to make sure that we win the midterms, and so that they can investigate all of this corruption. It's a start. I'm no fan of the Democrats, but we have to be realistic and look at the first step before we look at the bottom of the steps. And that seems to me like what you're doing.
No, you have to
I'm
do
going
it
to
all.
drop. I appreciate the time, you letting me coming up and talking, but I'm just going to say again, the idea that we could amend the Constitution legitimately in this current political climate is just not based in reality. Take care. Have a good day.
All right, let me just respond.
I want to throw out some more.
Just hang on one
if I
second. Let me
could.
just respond. It's going to be really quick for this.
Yeah.
He is right. Everything he just left with is right, except for one thing. If it is impossible to pass the constitutional amendment at this time, absolutely impossible because you don't have enough people. It's really simple, though. If you have enough of the population that wants it to happen, it would and could happen, and it would happen. If you don't, it's impossible to make it happen. That's the point. So it's impossible at the moment. But believe it or not, things could change relatively quickly if people focus on the right things. Go ahead, Eyes.
Yeah, I think I think the problem with what he's saying is that it's, and I think DSA would agree with this. It's Trump is the symptom. He is not the problem. He is not the root problem. The root problem is our form of government. It's Congress constantly deadlocking, not pushing forward any substantive legislation unless it's in crisis mode. It's the age, the perpetual age of these senators, these congressmen and women who keep getting elected, and their complete disconnect. And it's everything. It's our whole entire system of government.
But what do you mean by the form of government? You think so? The form of government is the problem?
I don't think it's necessarily I don't think it's the form of government, but I think all the moving pieces on the chessboard are partially responsible for what that other gentleman was trying to say. It's not just Trump, right? It's Congress, it's Trump, it's SCOTUS, it's a lot of pieces that together, jointly, the sum of those parts add up to where we are right now, right? I think if you listen to, I would ask him if he was still on, I know he said he's no fan of the Democrats, but there's a move in this country right now to splinter the Democratic Party between far left progressives and DSA versus centrists. The centrists tend to be older and kind of aging out of the system eventually, and the left progressives and the DSA seems to be rising. And what do they want to do to solve this problem? If you ask them, strangely, they might agree with the title over your head. They would probably say, you're right. Trump is not the problem. It's the system that is the problem. And they want to actually do away with the Bill of Rights. They want to do away with the Senate. They want to do away with borders. Is that what he wants? Would that make him happy? And I thought the thing about, I go back to what I said at the beginning, which is, Trump running again to keep himself out of office. What would we do about that? Have sort of like a minority report where we try to predict whether someone's going to be found guilty? That's ridiculous.
Let me ask you something, just in case you want to walk it back, because you may have not. Form of government and system of government. Are you blaming the form of government and the system of government? Is there a different form of government you would like to see?
I would say keeping most the same form, but making fundamental changes, doing away with lobbyist groups, APAC, doing away with, to your point, doing away with
Okay, so the
what you
form of
want to do in
the
the
form of
20.
government is good. We understand, like the representative
Electoral
democracy.
college.
Hold on, yeah, that's what absolutely. So the form of government as a representative democracy or a democratic republic or a constitutional republic, all those things, three things being relatively the same, that's okay with everybody here, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. So constitution. So I just wanted to make sure I corrected that because people think the form of government, meaning the words that are written on the paper of the Constitution, cannot be the problem, right? In this case, because it's just a piece of paper with words on it. The problem is not the form of government. It's the people that are supposed to uphold that form of government or the people in government, right?
Right. And corruption's not unique to Trump. I mean, no candidate is perfect. Every president we've had has had some kind of scandal, big or small. I mean, Joe Biden is a perfect example of that. Even Kennedy was not pure of heart. These people that run for national office reflect people in the population. They're imperfect.
Nobody else has tried to overthrow an election, though.
Fair.
Well, granted, but there's the jury's out, in my opinion, on to what degree that he had a direct hand in doing that. I mean, if you're talking about J6,
yeah,
you could argue that he specifically said march peacefully. He said that at least once, maybe twice, if I remember correctly.
You're not intellectually honest if you don't think that. His rhetoric was a direct influence.
Well, the system. True. Okay, but the system in the end worked anyway, right? So he lost, Biden won. So the system worked.
Sort of. Yeah, but you never want to go on that because the system worked.
The system didn't work because he was reelected, even though he incited a coup.
By the will of the people. By the will of the people.
And also,
by,
possibly a flaw in the
by
Constitution.
Being saved by his 3 Supreme Court appointees.
Yes, but you act like people don't know that when they go to the ballot box.
Most people aren't nearly as educated in politics.
So what would you do? Would you force them to go to re-education camp to learn these points? What's your solution to that?
My solution is to start calling out like the racists and bigots for what they are. So many
that
of
happens
so
daily
many of
on
these,
mainstream media. That's
so
been
many
happening
of
for the
these
last
people-
8 years. Mainstream media has called him out every single day of his life since he stepped down the escalator. They have continually called him out.
I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about like the people in your life who you know, or like the people like the host who put things like Trump is not the problem. No, we need to be honest to those people and like hold them accountable.
How are you going to hold the American population accountable?
Well, me personally, I cut those people out of my life.
Okay.
I stop letting them enjoy the presence of having a relationship with me.
Understandable. Okay. That helps you at the local level for your own life well-being. That helps you personally. Get that? Makes sense. How does that help you on a national level?
Well, if everyone did that, like you were saying before with amending the Constitution, if everyone started to do that, that's how we make a movement, That's how we make change. That's how we got women's suffrage.
I think this is where you're probably wrong. So you can take the No Kings movement, for instance. When any movement is perceived, especially in today's society, as being inherently left or inherently right, it will never be able to cross party aisles, right? So the No Kings movement, no matter how large it would have become in terms of left standards or progressive standards, it would have always alienated a large segment or the other half of the country. And when you do that,
I entirely disagree.
When you do that, you will continue to keep the United States divided in its population. And when you do that, you will continue to allow the technocrats, the Heritage Foundation, and the foreign governments and the existing political class, including the e-file class, to remain in power.
I disagree.
I know that's okay. I understand you disagree, but I'm telling you, you're wrong.
And I'm telling you, you're wrong.
Okay, good.
which is a wash, right?
Right. It's a wash, and time will prove which one of us is correct. But if you have a divide and conquer is been used for thousands of years. We cannot thrive as a representative democracy and survive endorsing freedom, liberty, the rule of law, international world order, all of those things as a divided country. It will never happen. And so you can despise one side of the people if you want and cut them out of your personal life, and that's fine. Go do that. I'm telling you, if you think of that as on a national level, if you can't convince some of those people to have an off-ramp and come to some mutual understanding, what solves the problem for all of us, then you will never get to your solution.
But you're not giving them an off-ramp. You're telling them they're just fine where they're at with your background, saying their leader that they're devoted to isn't a problem.
I understand, but you should stop focusing so much on just what the background says and what else I am saying.
No, because the background is what's there all the time. And everything that you're saying doesn't really seem to be matching up with that.
Okay.
So
my background
if you want to acknowledge that you should change your background for the future, I would stop focusing on that.
No, this is actually a good background that gets people to talk just like you are, for us to have dialogue that gets people to understand different perspectives. And if you really want to understand where I stand and what the solutions are, is you should go to the website and read A Citizen's Plan, because I think you'll agree with the vast majority of it.
What I'm telling you is I have no desire to go to your website, because right now you seem like a disingenuous hack, because the words coming out of your mouth and the words over your head don't agree with each other.
Then drop.
You don't have credibility with the audience who doesn't already agree with you.
I don't have credibility maybe with you. But I
with your audience who doesn't already agree with you, like the last guest who was up here, and the chat was saying he was wiping the floor with you, which he was.
Wonderful. Go to the website, read A Citizen's Plan. Unless you're too focused on what you think, what you believe, don't do it.
No, I'm focused on what you're already telling me. You don't know what you believe. You don't know if Trump's not the problem, or if he's just the puppet, or if he is the problem, or he did stage a coup.
No, I know very well what ultimately. I've been alive for the last 50 years and have watched the problem metastasize into what used to be a small cancer and now is a very large cancer. And the symptom, the cancer cells that you are focused on, as clearly someone who doesn't have that amount of history, is focused on just the recent bias that you have, seeing that this tumor, this giant tumor, but not understanding where the tumor originated from. So if you want to focus on the entire tumor and you think you're going to cut out most of the tumor, meaning MAGA, and that's going to cure the cancer, you are wrong. You must remove entire cancer or all the metastasization that's happened in the cells, which is not the people of MAGA. It is the organizations and the strategies of these groups, of the white Christian nationals and the foreign governments and the tech billionaires now in the last 15 years that are that have just made this cancer so much worse. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but the thing that makes the cancer so much worse is the normalization of the perpetuating lies. And what you're doing with that background is exactly that, just perpetuating more lies and normalizing perpetuating lies.
Focus on the original cancer.
I am.
No.
Lying and taking over an entire group of people.
So he wants to make people aligned to his worldview and his opinion on Trump. I mean, and good luck to you. I mean, if you think that you can move the pendulum by coming up on lives like this and getting saying what you're saying, hey, good luck. Go for it. But at the end of the day, you have your opinion, and there's plenty of people that disagree with you, or at least don't entirely agree with you. I'm probably in the latter camp, and I don't entirely agree with the host. But I come back to Trump is the symptom.
It's not my opinion that Trump incited a coup or tried
Okay.
to not leave office
Okay,
or
okay,
illegally
so
asked
now-
for 11,000 votes on the phone.
Okay,
That
so
was
what
Trump's
would you
fucking
do about that?
voice.
He's already fucking in office. What do you want to do about that?
Not say he's not the problem. That is a fucking problem.
Okay,
At
we
least
got
be
it.
honest
Check.
about it.
Check mark. We got it. Anything
No,
else?
you don't. Look at the fucking background.
Wow.
Can you see?
Wow.
Can you read?
Dude, you sound like a broken record. If that's all you got,
You sound
just
like
drop.
a fucking
We got it.
idiot.
Doc,
You
Doc, let me just tell you. I get it. You don't agree with that. You need to go think of what we're actually
You
trying to
don't
have a
agree with
conversation.
it.
Trump,
You're speaking out of both. You're speaking out of your mouth and ass at the same time. How do you not get that?
wow, you are so.
He wants to rage. He wants to rage bait you. That's
No,
all.
I know. So thanks, Doc. Thanks for coming up.
I'm not rage baiting at all. I just don't get what the point of.
You are the definition of rage bait.
You're the definition of uneducated.
I have a master's degree and a bachelor's. I'll put it on the table side by side with whatever you got.
From where?
Stevens Institute of Technology in Rutgers.
I thought you were going to
I
say.
live in New Jersey.
I thought you were going to say Trump University.
What what
That's
are
what
the
he would say.
degrees?
That's what he would say. Computer science, both.
Oh yeah, no wonder you don't know how the government works.
No wonder. Yeah, I forgot. I'm talking to someone probably bad in math. Like, what did you major in? Basket weaving? Whale watching?
All right, guys. All
Oh,
right.
I wish that would have been easy and fun.
All right.
Well, anyway.
By the way, Doc, are you a Democratic Socialist? Is that what you want? What's your solution?
Like,
Like,
be honest. That's what I've been trying to get you to do the whole time.
where do you want to go? What do you think is the solution?
Like, be honest. Can stop normalizing dishonesty and lying.
And I think you seriously, the comprehension thing, like understanding what I'm trying to get across and the root cause, this had started way before Trump. Do you remember something called the Tea Party?
Yes, very aware.
Okay. So this goes
Then, like,
way,
why doesn't
way
your
back.
background say like Trump isn't the only Trump is a small part of a larger issue.
So maybe the background is there to get people like you to engage and to actually think a little bit deeper than just focusing on Trump.
So why wouldn't a sentence like Trump is the smaller part of a larger issue not do the same?
Okay, so here's my suggestion to you. You should start your own lives and you should put whatever the fucking background that you want on your live.
Well, I just don't get why you have a background that can contradicts
I
with
just
what
told
you say
you.
out of your mouth.
I just told you.
So you lie on purpose to get people to engage with you? That's pathetically desperate.
Okay.
Noted. You can
Noted.
leave now.
Comprehension. But thanks, Doc.
Gladly.
I appreciate it. And you didn't answer a question
Bye.
if you're a
Crash
Democratic
out.
Socialist.
Yeah, because you wouldn't tell me why you're lying. Like you're a waste of breath, your own and mine.
And yet
Have
you
a good
still
one.
and let you still here. Bye. Adios.
See, he's the difference between the last guy before him who was intelligent and could articulate opinion despite being, passionate and really, kind of forceful versus someone who is not intellectually accurate, honest, and is pushing ad hominem. So, I mean, anyway, I just want to end. I'll jump off here, but I just want to say that, I see it as a complex web of factors. It's not just Trump, it's our Congress, it's education in this country, it's the education of people who vote. There's a lot of complicated factors. A lot of it is on our system, not just on the man who is, even the Democrats say they don't really have any interest in impeaching him again for the nth time, especially if they don't flip the Senate. And most people, experts, say that they will not flip the Senate. They may flip the House, but they won't flip the Senate. So it's a lost cause, and people just need to understand that, until he's out of office, you can't really do much about it.
And let me distill it maybe down a little bit deeper. So ultimately, the ultimate solution is that you have to have your government officials representing their constituents, right?
Right.
And it doesn't matter what the particular issues are. It doesn't matter whether you're pro-immigration, anti-immigration, whatever other issue it is, right? ultimately, the only thing you can have in an imperfect system, which every system is imperfect, this is the best of the imperfect systems, is that you have representatives who are representing their constituents, and they're supposed to be temporary civic servants. So Trump
Right.
is in office, as you say now, and if the Democrats win and the Democratic Socialists win, some issues may change, but the root cause of this amount of influence from people who are not human beings, meaning artificial entities, meaning political corporations and other corporations and other foreign governments, artificial entities, unless your representatives represent the society, meaning humans and individuals, you can never ultimately solve it. And that's what the Constitution and its representative democracy was supposed to, as an ideal, pursue. Doesn't mean it's ever been like that, right? It's never been.
Right.
It's never succeeded on being what it was supposed to or designed to be, but it was supposed to evolve into that. And
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to distill it down to. Maybe people know that I don't care what your issue is. You may have an issue that you disagree with that I have, right? And just like the other caller, those don't matter right now. What matters is how do you restore or get rid of or evict the current people that are no longer following that the law of the land, which is the Constitution.
Agreed. And term limits, I think, is arguably a good way to start doing something to change that. You've got like you've got people that have been in there since the 90s, the 2000s, and they're weighing in on decisions that are very modern day kind of, decisions around things like AI and internet and they're just woefully inadequate to do these kinds of things. They just are they're checked out.
And this is why the founding fathers didn't install or were against a direct democracy for exactly that reason.
Right.
Or those reasons. A direct democracy is not feasible in a society as large as ours. It's really not feasible even on smaller society levels. And that's why you have to have the best situation or the best compromise that you could possibly have, which is the representative democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for coming
Anyway,
up.
thank
Appreciate
you so
being
much.
here.
Yeah, I'll be back. I think you have a good live.
Thanks. And I'm not going to change my background.
Don't do it. You be you. Okay. And visit me sometime. Eye on China. I review global Chinese U.S. politics on a daily basis.
Cool. Followed.
Thank you.
All right. Catch you later.
Have a good day, sir.
You too.
Bye now.
All right. So that was a very effective dialogue. I welcome people with differing opinions. When I say Trump is not the problem, go deeper, people. Go deeper, realizing he is just the vessel. He is just the vehicle. You think that's not being honest or truthful. That is your opinion. You must go deeper and realize what is the true cancer in the society. Alyssa, go ahead with your quick question. And then I think we're going to shut it down for the day. Trump is the puppet. He is the symptom. He's the vehicle. He is the vessel. All of those terms are true. So if you want, I think this is the grand takeaway of all this. If you want to just place all of your blame on him, I get it. You could, if you want to, but then you're going to be like our healthcare system. You're going to be like our healthcare system that just prescribes a drug or just tries to cut out part of the cancer, but you don't get out the root of the cancer. That is my analogy, is that you're going to be just like the healthcare system, is you're not ever going to go down deeper, trying to figure out what the root cause was and trying to eliminate that root cause from, or that disease from metastasizing into something worse. I missed your question. If you're there, Alyssa, let me know.
Hey,
Hi, Alyssa.
how are you?
Good. How are you? You're the one with the question, right? You had a question. I'm not going to let anybody else up because I'm going to be getting ready to close down the live, but go for it.
Yeah, I do have a question. My question is, why do we cap the House?
Give more context, please.
Why do we cap the number of representatives when it should be a certain number per citizens represented?
It's a percent. The House of Representatives.
Yeah,
It's capped at 435, right?
right. But we have more people than that, so people are getting less representation in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
And why do we do that? Why can't we just have as many representatives as we need to be fair to everybody?
We could. You have to change the Constitution, right? You have to change. That would have to be an issue that you want to resolve.
I don't think it's in the Constitution. I think it just, they ran out of seats and they're like, okay.
Well, we did cap it. Let's see. You're right. It's not in the original Constitution. No, it's not. That's right. So, but does that solve the problem? Is it the amount? Is the amount of representatives truly the problem, or is it the people who are representing us that are the problem? If you add more, maybe the problem gets even bigger.
Well, I think what happens is with a cap, we end up with some states with more power than they should have and some states with less power than they should have. Like if you look at Maine versus California, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like a less populated state, everybody has fair representation, but then in California, we can't have fair representation. So those voices are getting muted in the House.
Well, you have more congressional representation in California than compared to Maine by, like tenfold.
But the population is way more than that.
Not in the Senate. Well, it's a proportion, right?
Well, the Senate's fine, but I think it shouldn't have a cap. It should be for every 50,000 people or 500,000 people or whatever it is, you get a representative, and there should be no cap. And everybody gets fair representation, and that way the House would have more votes for states with more population. And then the Senate would be an unequal but fair representation like it's meant to be. And the House would be what it's supposed to be, which is everybody has representation.
Right. But in theory, you're absolutely correct, right? But that's not in the current circumstances when you have the amount of money and influence within the elections themselves, the representation would just be more of people not representing their constituents.
Perhaps, but if there was something like the Big Beautiful Bill and California had equal representation like per capita, we maybe would have not passed that or made the changes that we wanted to and at least gotten rid of the tax cuts for the wealthy, or gotten rid of some of that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely.
But I was just wondering if you know why we capped it. Is it just we ran out of seats? Like, what is the reason?
Congress failed to pass a new apportionment law for nearly a decade. They finally passed a permanent apportionment where they capped it. So the Congress capped it in 1929 at 435, from what I'm reading. And that's why. So it's capped at 435 members because of political deadlock after the 1920 census. So it could be changed. But I don't, it's a fair point of view. I think many people will probably agree with you. I still don't think it's ultimately what the true problems are. You can talk about the Electoral College. You can talk about what you just mentioned. You can talk about the Senate representation being unfair as well. Those are all true, right? Those are definitely all true. You can talk about the gerrymandering also is very flawed, right? In the ability. So you can talk about all those things, and they are all true. But they still don't address, which I always try and focus is on, what is the first thing you need to do? And like the last caller mentioned was, the first thing you need to do is try and remove that influence out of office. The second thing you would need to do is try and make sure that career politicians could not be career politicians, that they need to be temporary public servants, as the founding fathers expected them to be, temporary civic servants. And then the third thing that would solve everything, sort of like the cherry on top, would be making sure there's ranked choice voting. and that would reduce the power of both parties and allow independents and other parties to enter the fray. Those three fundamental issues would then lead to everything else changing, whether it's issue-based, whether it's what you just talked about. When you had true representation for the people, by the people, and you enacted those three solutions, everything else would sort of follow in its own timeline.
Yeah, and I think that also there should be a law, a federal law, that puts polling places within every certain amount of miles, right? Like, so that everybody can vote. Because one of the problems too, like with the primaries in Texas, is they messed up their polling places so people weren't able to vote.
Now, federal law wouldn't solve that because you have to have a constitutional amendment because the elections are run by the states in the first article of the Constitution, right? So that would require something more significant than just a law.
Yeah,
And that is
something needs to
probably
change with
maybe
that.
that might be the thing that actually possibly has a chance to save is not having federalized elections. Could you imagine if you had federalized elections right now? It would
No.
be so being a distributed system of 50 different states with their own elections might be the saving grace to all this. Might be, and also might not be.
Right. It's hard to say. I mean, you never know what's good or bad till after.
Yep.
But I do think that everybody should be able to vote within like an hour of their home, like that should be something that people work toward. And as Democrats come into power, I hope that they work on that. I know Stacey Abrams did a really great job in Alabama of she got 250,000 people who hadn't been voting registered to vote. And that was huge for them.
Did you mean Georgia, not Alabama?
Yes.
Georgia, right? Okay.
And then I was like, do I need to fix it? Did you hear me pause?
No, I didn't hear the pause. Okay.
I was like, do I need to fix that? No. Because I was thinking about in Alabama when they made voter ID a law and then they closed all the DMVs in the black neighborhoods.
Yeah. Well, as by the way, Richard here in the comments says mail-in ballots, right? So you're talking about access to polling, but mail-in ballots
that's the same
better.
to me.
It's even better.
Yeah.
Right.
Either way.
There are some
Just
states. There are many states that actually have primarily mail-in ballots.
Yeah, Oregon.
Right. Yeah. Utah, Oregon, others.
Alaska.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming up, Alyssa. I'm going to shut it down for today. Thanks for joining. Hope to see you in a future one.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We'll make sure you remember to follow and to subscribe and to understand what we're really trying to do here. Please read a Citizens Plan under tkcivics.com and not get too triggered by what's above me. Thanks very much for everybody for joining. I will see you next week, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and I'll see you then.
America is advanced citizenship. You've got to want it bad, because it's going to put up a fight. It's going to say, you want free speech? Let's see you acknowledge a man whose words make your blood boil, who's standing center stage and advocating at the top of his lungs.